Everything is foreign to us, Lucilius. Time alone is ours. You are going to lie down tonight carrying things that do not belong in tomorrow. The conversation that went badly. The decision you are still replaying. The frustration that did not get resolved and that you are now bringing to bed with you, as if sleeping on it will somehow change what happened. Most men end their days the same way they spent them, reactively. The phone in their hand, until the last moment, the mind still running the events of the day at full speed while the body is trying to stop. No clear line between when the day ended and when rest began. Just a slow dimming that is not actually rest, but postponement. The same unprocessed material waiting on the other side of sleep to be picked up again in the morning. Seneca wrote about this specific problem nearly 2,000 years ago, not as a philosophical abstraction, as a practical observation about what men do with the last hours of the day and what it costs them. He developed a practice for those final minutes that was not about relaxation. It was about something more precise. What you are about to hear has closed days correctly for men, facing conditions far heavier than most of us will ever know. Not because it is comfortable, because it is the most efficient way to ensure that tomorrow's man is built on today's clarity, rather than today's residue. This is the Stoic evening practice. It pairs with the morning practice this channel covered earlier. Together, they form the complete architecture of a day lived deliberately, rather than one that simply happens to you. What the modern evening actually does to a man. Before we describe the Stoic practice, it is worth being honest about what most men are actually doing in the hour before they sleep, and what that pattern is producing. The average man spends the last 90 minutes of his day consuming news, social media, video content, messages, input without output, stimulation without processing. The nervous system is receiving information and generating responses, emotional, cognitive, physiological, but none of that is being examined, organized, or resolved. It is simply accumulating. This matters because sleep is not a neutral reset. The mind does not simply pause and restart. What you bring into sleep, you process during sleep. And what you process during sleep shapes the emotional and cognitive baseline you wake up with. The man who goes to bed still running the unresolved events of his day is not resting. He is continuing the day in a less conscious form. Carl Jung observed that the unconscious does not distinguish between what is over and what is unfinished. It does not know that the argument ended, that the decision was made, that the frustration was circumstantial and temporary. It only knows that those things carry charge, and it keeps working on them. Through sleep, through dreams, through the mood that greets the man when he wakes. The result is familiar to most men, even if they have not named it. You wake up already tired, not from the night's sleep, but from the night's processing. You wake up with a residue of yesterday's emotional state that colors the first hours of the new day, before anything new has even happened. You are behind before you begin. This is not inevitable. It is the result of a specific failure to close the day correctly. And the Stoics had a precise solution for it that required neither more time nor more effort, only a different use of the time already available. I review my entire day and go back over what I have done and said, hiding nothing from myself, passing nothing by. That review, conducted deliberately, honestly, and without self-cruelty, is the foundation of the Stoic evening practice. Not a performance of reflection, a genuine accounting, done with the same rigor a careful man brings to any other important task. What Seneca actually did before he slept. Seneca described his evening practice in more specific terms than almost any other ancient philosopher. He did not leave it as an abstract recommendation. He wrote about what he actually did, in his own words, every night before sleep. He asked himself 3 questions, not in the abstract sense of general reflection. 3 specific questions directed at the actual events of the actual day. The first, what did I do today that I should not have done? Not as self-punishment, as honest observation. The man who looks at his day and identifies where he acted from his worst rather than his best self has something to work with. He has located the gap between who he intends to be and who he actually was under the specific pressures of that specific day. The second, what did I fail to do that I should have done? The omissions are often more costly than the commissions and far less examined. The conversation that needed to happen, but did not. The response that was called for, but withheld. The moment that required something from him and received less than what was available. These gaps compound, and the man who does not see them cannot close them. The third, where did I act exactly as I intended to? This question is often left out of self-reflection entirely, which is why self-reflection so often produces guilt without growth. The man who only examines his failures becomes increasingly aware of how far he falls short, but loses contact with the evidence that he is also, sometimes, exactly who he is trying to be. Seneca understood that the practice of honoring what was done well is not vanity. It is calibration. It shows the man what his best self actually looks like in practice, so that he can return to it more reliably. These 3 questions, taken together, are not a judgment of the day. They are a completion of it. The day ends when it has been seen clearly, not before. When the light has been removed and my wife has fallen silent, aware of the habit that is now mine, I examine my entire day and go back over what I have done and said. The detail that Seneca includes here is worth noting. He does this after the light is removed, after the household has gone quiet, in the space between the end of the day's activity and the beginning of sleep. Not earlier, when the events are still too fresh for honest assessment. Not later, when sleep has already claimed the attention, in that specific window, deliberately. The evening and the morning as one system. The evening practice and the morning practice are not 2 separate habits. They are 2 halves of a single system. Understanding how they connect changes how you understand what each one is actually for. The morning practice, described in an earlier video on this channel, is preparation. It names what the day is likely to bring before it arrives. It separates what the man can control from what he cannot. It connects him to who he intends to be before the day has had a chance to pull him in any direction. The evening practice is completion. It takes the actual day, the real events, the real decisions, the real moments of success and failure, and processes them honestly before they are carried forward. It closes what needs to be closed. It extracts what is useful, and it releases what belongs to today rather than tomorrow. Together, they create a daily rhythm of intention and review. The man who practices both knows each morning who he intends to be, and he knows each evening how closely he approximated that intention and where the gaps are. Over time, the gap narrows, not because he has become perfect, because he is seeing himself clearly and consistently enough that the distance between intention and action becomes smaller with each iteration. Marcus Aurelius understood this system intuitively. His journals are not random reflections. They are the evidence of a man who was doing exactly this, reviewing his days with honesty, identifying where he fell short of his own standards, noting where he succeeded, and building, piece by piece, a more accurate understanding of himself and a more reliable capacity to act from his best self, even under difficult conditions. The journal was his evening practice made visible. Most men will not write. Writing is not required. What is required is the honest review, conducted with enough attention and specificity that the day is actually seen rather than simply experienced. Look well into thyself. There is a source of strength which will always spring up if thou wilt always look. That source does not spring up automatically. It springs up when a man looks. The evening practice is the looking. Conducted nightly, it builds something that cannot be built any other way. A man who knows himself with increasing accuracy and who can therefore trust himself with increasing confidence. What the practice does to the man who keeps it. The effects of the Stoic evening practice are not dramatic. They are cumulative. And because they are cumulative, they are also the kind of change that is difficult to attribute to any single moment. The man who keeps this practice for 60 days does not wake up one morning transformed. He wakes up one morning and notices that the way he moves through difficult days has changed. That the residue he carries from one day to the next is lighter. That he is less surprised by his own reactions because he has been examining them honestly for long enough that they are no longer mysterious to him. The first thing that changes is the quality of sleep. Not because the practice is relaxing, it is often the opposite, but because the mind that has completed its processing consciously does not need to continue that processing unconsciously. The man who has honestly reviewed his day, extracted what is useful, and released what belongs to today rather than tomorrow goes to sleep with less unfinished business. And less unfinished business means less nocturnal processing, which means more genuine rest. The second thing that changes is the quality of the morning. The man who closes his days correctly does not carry yesterday's emotional residue into today. He wakes up with the baseline of who he is, not the baseline of how yesterday left him. This is a significant advantage that most men have no idea they are missing because they have never experienced the alternative. The third thing that changes is harder to describe, but perhaps the most important. A man who examines himself honestly every evening for an extended period develops a different relationship with his own failures. He stops being surprised by them. He stops being defined by them. He begins to see them as the specific, predictable places where his intentions and his actions regularly diverge, and to understand those places with enough clarity that he can approach them differently rather than simply repeating the same pattern indefinitely. Epictetus taught that freedom is not the absence of constraint. It is the capacity to respond to constraint from a place of awareness rather than reaction. The evening practice builds that capacity, not by eliminating difficulty, by ensuring that the man who faces tomorrow's difficulty is carrying only today's load rather than the accumulated weight of every unprocessed day that came before. He is a wise man who does not grieve for the things which he has not, but rejoices for those which he has. The evening practice makes this possible in a practical sense. It separates what was genuinely lost from what was simply imperfect. It allows the man to close his day knowing what he actually has. The demonstrated capacity, the honest effort, the moments of genuine integrity, rather than lying down under the weight of everything he was not. The debate, what the modern world offers instead. The modern world has its own answer to the question of what to do with the last hour before sleep. Several answers, in fact. All of them optimized for engagement, none of them optimized for the man. There is the screen, the phone, the television, the laptop, the passive consumption of content that someone else produced for someone else's purposes, designed specifically to be engaging enough to delay sleep, to maintain attention beyond the point where attention serves the man, rather than the platform. The notifications that arrive in that window are not accidents. They are the product of systems engineered to colonize precisely the mental space that the Stoics reserved for honest self-review. There is the rehearsal, the mental replay of the day's events, particularly its frustrations and failures, in a loop that produces neither resolution nor insight. This is not the Stoic review. It is its opposite. Where the Stoic review looks at events with the intention of extracting something useful and releasing what remains, the mental rehearsal simply runs the events again without purpose. It generates the same emotional charge without the benefit of honest assessment. It keeps the man engaged with what happened without helping him understand it or move past it. And there is the avoidance, the instinct to fill the last hour with enough distraction that the events of the day cannot be felt at all. This is perhaps the most understandable response and the most costly. The man who never lets himself be quiet enough to review his day is also the man who never learns from it. He experiences the same patterns indefinitely, because the only thing that would allow him to see them clearly, the honest examination in the quiet at the end of the day, is the thing he is most consistently avoiding. The Stoic alternative is not ascetic. It does not require giving up comfort or entertainment entirely. It requires only that a specific window, 15 to 30 minutes in the transition between the end of the day's activity and the beginning of sleep, be used with intention rather than surrendered to whatever presents itself. Reclaim yourself, for you are being taken away, plundered, scattered, and wasted. The evening is the first place to reclaim, not because the other hours do not matter, but because what happens in that final window determines the quality of everything that follows: the sleep, the morning, the accumulated character that is being built or eroded one day at a time. How to begin tonight. The practice requires nothing except 15 minutes and honesty. Tonight, before you sleep, find a quiet moment. After the household has settled, after the screens are off, before your eyes close, and ask yourself 3 questions about the day that just ended. First, where did I act in a way that I would not defend in daylight? Not where did I fail to be perfect? Where did I act in a way that I know, honestly, was less than what I am capable of? Name it specifically. Do not generalize. Generalization is a form of avoidance. Second, where did I fail to act when action was called for? The conversation I did not have. The thing I withheld that someone needed. The moment that asked something of me and received less than I had available. Third, where did I act exactly as I intended to? Name this with the same specificity as the first 2. This is not vanity. This is calibration. It shows you what your best self looks like in practice, so you can return to it. Then close the day, not by resolving everything, not by fixing what went wrong, simply by having seen it clearly. The day that has been honestly seen does not need to be carried. It has already given you what it has to give. Do this for 7 days. Not because a week is a magic number, because the practice does not reveal itself in a single night. It reveals itself in the pattern that becomes visible over time, the specific places where intention and action consistently diverge, and the specific moments where you are already, without needing to try harder, exactly who you have decided to be. That is what the Stoic evening practice produces. Not a better night's sleep, though it produces that too. A man who knows himself well enough to trust himself, who closes each day lighter than he opened it, who builds one honest review at a time, the character that no single event can permanently damage because it was never built on the assumption that everything would go smoothly. The morning practice prepares the man for the day. The evening practice completes him. Together, they are the architecture of a life lived with eyes open. If this is the kind of thinking you want to keep building, this channel is here every week. Every video takes one idea further than the last. Subscribe so you do not miss what comes next.